Welcome to the statewide training series, Title IV Part A, Student Support and Academic Enrichment. Back to the Basics, Title IV Part A, Federal Program Requirements, December 2022. This presentation is intended solely to provide general information and guidance to Texas ESCs, LEAs, and participating private schools, and reflects the Texas Education Agency's current understanding of statute and applicable federal guidance. The content of this presentation is subject to change as a result of further potential information and guidance provided by federal agencies with regulatory oversight of these programs. This presentation does not constitute legal advice, and entities are therefore advised to seek legal counsel regarding the information and guidance provided in this presentation before acting on such information and guidance. Today's agenda is as follows: program requirements, application schedule, compliance report, Title IV Part A, content areas, prohibition of use of funds used for possession and/or training of dangerous weapons, evaluation of program effectiveness, collaborative comprehensive needs assessment, Title IV Part A tools, TEA resources, and technical assistance and support. Selected Title IV Part A program requirements. These are the program intent and purposes for the Title IV Part A program and activities. Provide students with access to well-rounded educational opportunities, improve school conditions for safe and healthy student learning, and improve technology in order to enhance academic outcomes and digital literacy of students. An LEA is required to engage in continued consultation with all listed stakeholders throughout the school year. These stakeholders are required of all LEAs regardless of Title IV Part A allocation amount. In addition, the stakeholders must be included even if the LEA elects to transfer or reap 100% of Title IV-A funds. Parents, students, private school officials, principals, teachers, school leaders, specialized instructional support personnel, local government, community-based organizations, Indian tribes, others with relevant and demonstrated expertise, charter school leaders if agency or consortium supports charter schools. LEAs must prioritize the distribution of funds for schools with the greatest needs, highest percentages or numbers of students from low-income families that are counted for purposes of the LEA's Title I Part A grant, identification for comprehensive support and improvement under Title I Part A, targeted support, implementation, and improvement plans under Title I Part A, or persistently dangerous public elementary or secondary schools. TEA has previously awarded Title IV grants to LEAs for many purposes that meet the LEA's identified needs, including school safety. Federal funds should be prioritized first to implement school safety requirements on campuses, which may include counseling and mental health programs, which both staff and students could benefit in the current environment. Addressing ways to integrate health and safety practices into school or athletic programs, and disseminating best practices and evaluating program outcomes to promote student safety and violence prevention. A safe learning environment for all students is crucial to advancing the purposes of the Title IV Part A Student Support and Academic Enrichment Program. The LEA will maintain a description of the activities and programming that the LEA will carry out, including a description of any partnership with an institution of higher education, business, nonprofit organization, community-based organization, or public or entity with a demonstrated record of success in implementing activities. All required program descriptions are to be maintained locally and available upon request from TEA and/or an auditor. How funds will be used for activities related to supporting well-rounded education. How funds will be used for activities related to supporting safe and healthy students. And how funds will be used for activities related to supporting the effective use of technology in schools. In addition, the program description should include program objectives and intended outcomes for activities, and how the LEA will periodically evaluate the effectiveness of the activities carried out under this section based on the objectives and intended outcomes. Consolidated Federal Grant Application, Title IV Part A Schedule, PS 3107. After the LEA gains an understanding of the Title IV Part A requirements, the next step is to complete the PS 3107 Title IV Part A application schedule. If the LEA redirects 100% of its Title IV Part A funds using the REAP or funding transferability option, it will check the box at the top. Part 1B will indicate the Title IV Part A funds available. As part of the ESA consolidated application, the LEA provides a budget on the planned uses of Title IV Part A in Schedule PS 3107 in Part 1C. There's a maximum of 2% that may be used for administration costs with the Title IV Part A funds. At the bottom, the total budget will be auto-calculated. For the technology infrastructure, there's a maximum of 15% of line 4 that may be used in that area. Under Part 2, Program Requirement Assurances, an LEA must mark under A, Comprehensive Needs Assessment, and B, prioritize distribution of funds as part of their district assurances. This slide provides a draft of the PS 3107 Title IV Schedule Part 2 that are the Title IV Part A required assurances. Title Part 3 is available for LEAs to enter any additional comments or information. Compliance Report, PR 3107. Switching gears from the program requirements being applied and application completed. The PR 3107 is the Title IV Part A compliance report and LEA completes at the end of the school year. This is a draft document. Part 1 asks if the LEA participated in funding transferability. The LEA will respond to both questions on the PR 3107. A note of caution, LEAs may not transfer or reap their portion of funds and retain a proportion simply to support private nonprofit schools. If the LEA is not participating with Title IV Part A programs, the PNP would not be able to participate either. Part 2 asks about REAP participation, the Rural Education Achievement Program. The LEA will respond to both questions on the PR 3107. A note of caution, LEAs may not transfer or reap their portion of the funds and retain a portion to support PNP schools only. If the LEA again is not participating with Title IV Part A programs, the PNP will not be able to participate either. Part 3 of the PR 3107 is the self-check requirements that an LEA must respond to. Number one, the LEA engaged in timely and meaningful consultation with a broad range of stakeholders to determine targeted areas of improvement. If in compliance, the LEA assures that it has documentation showing compliance readily available to TEA and/or other auditors. The strongest documentation required would be data, agendas, and/or ongoing meeting notes of all the required stakeholder sessions, focus groups, advisory committees, and/or district improvement team meetings, and the participants' rosters or sign-in sheets of all required stakeholders in the consultation meetings. The LEA may have other documentation that potentially might show compliance. In the event of an audit, TEA or audit staff would make the final determination concerning whether the documentation is sufficient to demonstrate compliance with the program requirement. If an LEA is not in compliance, then it would self-report how it plans to meet compliance the following year. Three of the compliance report is the program description, program objectives, and intended outcomes on number 2. The LEA has a description of programs and activities funded with the Title IV Part A to support the program objectives and intended outcomes related to a well-rounded education, safe and healthy students, and the effective use of technology. Compliance self-check requirement number 2 of the compliance report. The LEA must have a description of programs and activities to support the Title IV Part A program objectives and intended outcomes related to the content area. If compliance status is yes, the LEA assures that it has documentation showing compliance readily available upon request. And as you can see, some of the strongest documentation recommended are relevant pages of the most current LEA's District Improvement Plan or other auditable documentation providing detailed description on how Title IV Part A funds will be used for activities supporting one or more of the content areas, well-rounded education, safe and healthy students, or the effective use of technology. If compliance is no, use the space below to indicate how the LEA plans to meet compliance the following year. Compliance Requirement 3. The LEA periodically evaluated the effectiveness of the Title IV Part A programs and/or activities based on program objectives and intended outcomes. The strongest documentation recommended is relevant pages of the most current DIP or other official auditable documentation that provide a description, which includes LEA's Title IV Part A evaluation process, how the LEA will periodically evaluate effectiveness, Title IV Part A program objectives, and the Title IV Part A intended outcomes of funded programs and/or activities. If an LEA is not in compliance, the LEA must describe how it plans to meet compliance the following year. Part 4 is an area where an LEA can present additional information in the box. It is an optional area. Title IV Part A Content Areas. Well-rounded education opportunities. The purpose of well-rounded education is to provide an enriched curriculum and educational experiences to all students, and it starts with early learning opportunities that make time for exploration and continues with K-12 education. It also promotes a diverse set of learning experiences that engage students across a variety of courses, activities, and programs. Here are a few examples of how schools may use their Title IV funding as long as it is supplemental to what they're already doing. For example, just to name a few, dance, science, welding, computer, STEM, construction, orchestra. For example, schools may teach a form of dance as appropriate. The well-rounded programs and activities that use music and the arts as tools to support student success through the promotion of constructive student engagement, problem solving, and conflict resolution would be an example of well-rounded education. Again, it must be supplemental activities. Safe and healthy students. The purpose of safe and healthy students are to improve school conditions for student learning, help students feel healthy, safe, and supported, and help students succeed in school. Under Section 4108, Safe and Healthy Students, some examples of supplemental educational opportunities under the Safe and Healthy Students area would be drug and violence prevention activities and programs that are evidence-based, school-based mental health services, including early identification or mental health symptoms, drug use and violence, and appropriate referrals to direct individual or group counseling services, which may be provided by school-based mental health service providers. Programs and activities that integrate health and safety practices into school or athletic programs, programs that support a healthy, active lifestyle, including nutritional education and regular structured physical educational activities and programs that may address chronic disease management with instructions led by school nurses or nurse practitioners or other appropriate specialists and professionals. Support to improve instructional practices for developing relationship building skills such as effective communication and improve safety through the recognition and prevention of violence or abuse, including teen and dating violence, stalking, domestic abuse, and harassment. These are just a few examples that fall under the area of safe and healthy students. Effective use of technology. The purpose of effective use of technology is to improve academic achievement, academic growth, and digital literacy of all students, accelerate and expand the impact of effective practices that support student learning, increase community engagement, expand growth opportunities for all students, provide historically disadvantaged students greater equity of access. Here are a few activities to support the effective use of technology. LEAs, regardless of allocation amount, may not spend more than 15% in technology infrastructure. The remaining 85% of the fund must be used on the effective uses of technologies. LEA shall use the portion of such funds to improve the use of technology that improves the academic achievement, academic growth, and digital literacy of students, including by meeting the needs of such agency or consortium that are identified in the needs assessment. A few examples are personalized learning to improve student academic achievement, using technology effectively in the classroom, including by administering computer-based assessments and blending learning strategies, and implementing and support school and district-wide approaches for using technology to inform instruction, support teacher collaboration, and personalized learning. Developing or using effective or innovative strategies for the delivery or specialized or rigorous academic courses and curricula through the use of technology, including digital learning technologies and assistive technology. Ongoing professional development for teachers, principals, and other school leaders. involved in the project that is designed to support the implementation and academic success of the project. Providing students in rural, remote, and undeserved areas with the resources to take advantage of high-quality digital learning experiences, digital resources, and online access. The prohibition of ESA program funds used for possession of and/or training with dangerous weapons. The errata number 2, posted on August 26, 2022. The ESA provisions and assurances states, prohibition of ESA program funds used for possession of and/or training with dangerous weapons. The LEA assures that no funds under the SEA will be used for the provision to any persons of a dangerous weapon or the training in the use of a dangerous weapon. Here you can see the definition by the USDE of a dangerous weapon. Please note the prohibition went into effect immediately on June 25, 2022, and applies to all ESA funds, existing and future awards under all ESA programs. One frequently asked question is, can an LEA continue to fund a school resource officer with ESA funds? Yes, the LEA can likely continue to pay the contract or salary costs of a security resource officer with ESA funds. The amendment only prohibits an LEA from providing a dangerous weapon to a person or providing training related to the use of a dangerous weapon. The amendment does not prohibit paying the salary costs of an armed employee. If the LEA has directly hired the SRO, the LEA may continue to pay the salary costs associated with the SRO, but cannot use ESA funds to pay for costs associated with the SRO's weapon or weapons training. Can an LEA use a third-party contract to hire SROs and/or police officers with ESA funds? If the LEA has contracted with an external provider to provide security resource officers, SROs, to the LEA, such as contracting with the local police department, these costs are allowable. In this case, the LEA is contracting for services from the SRO provider and is not using the ESA funds to directly provide a weapon or weapons training to the SRO. Instead, those items are provided incidental to the services procured in the contract. Is the prohibition on dangerous weapons retroactive? No, it is not likely to be retroactive. Evaluation of the Title IV Part A program effectiveness. The evaluation of Title IV Part A program effectiveness is required for supported Title IV Part A activities and/or programs. LEAs must document the evaluation of program effectiveness at least every 3 years. The best practice, however, is to annually review the progress. It should drive the future Title IV Part A activities and programs. The most recent documentation of the evaluation should be available upon TEA or an auditor's request. Each LEA that receives Title IV Part A funds must meet the following program evaluation requirements. Periodically evaluate effectiveness of the activities to support the program objectives and intended outcomes. Annually submit a report regarding how funds are used to meet the distribution requirements, and how the expenditure will be evaluated to measure a positive impact on student achievement. Regarding travel with Title IV Part A funds, it must include an evaluation of the travel that measures the impact on student achievement for field trips, competitions, and out-of-state travel. Additional program requirements relating to travel. It must be identified in the comprehensive needs assessment, included in the in the campus improvement plan. It must be allocable, reasonable, and necessary, have a positive impact on student achievement. It must include instructional activity that cannot be conducted on campus, include instruction that address the Texas essential knowledge and skills, and include an evaluation measuring the impact on student achievement. Another tool to assess LEAs with Title IV's Comprehensive Needs Assessment requirement is the Collaborative Comprehensive Needs Assessment Toolkit. What is the purpose of the TEA's Collaborative CCNA Resource Toolkit? The purpose of this resource toolkit is to provide a resource that brings together the comprehensive needs assessment requirements and recommendations for the title programs. The Texas Education Agency program staff collaboratively developed the resource toolkit at the request of LEAs and education service centers. Although this presentation's focus is on Title IV Part A, TEA wants to share how the collaboration across federal programs may help to meet not only the requirements of Title IV Part A, but other programs as well. What is the Collaborative Comprehensive Needs Assessment process? Even though the CCNA represents multiple programs, I'll be highlighting just a few of the resources and information specifically geared for Title IV Part A programs. Using the CCNA toolkit is not required. It's merely an option LEAs may use. The next few slides are provided as an option for campuses when presenting information to Title IV Part A stakeholders about the CCNA Resource Toolkit. Districts and/or campuses may add or customize information to the slides as appropriate to meet the district and/or individual campus needs. The program description, Title IV Part A, Subpart 1, Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grants are designed to improve the academic achievement of all students by increasing the capacity of LEAs, schools, and communities to meet the Title IV goals. This is just one example of the program description that you could find in the toolkit so that as an LEA, you would not need to reinvent the wheel. You will also find information regarding the comprehensive needs assessment and the statutory requirement citation. The CCNA toolkit also includes a stakeholder template that an LEA may use. There is no need to create stakeholder invitation letters if the LEA uses the available templates and revise them to meet the needs of the LEA. Here are two examples of additional templates: the CCNA meeting agenda and minutes template and participant sign-in sheet templates. The sign-in template includes a column for identified roles, which is required for Title IV Part A programs. It is required for LEAs to keep documentation with an agenda, meeting date, CCNA, stakeholder names, and identified roles. TEA resources. The Use of Funds resource document provides federal criteria that districts must meet to ensure all activities are supplemental and eligible to be supported with the Title IV Part A funds. Districts must keep documentation on file that all programs and activities supported by the Title IV Part A funds meet the allowable cost criteria. This resource provides specific guidance for district staff to ensure allowable cost criteria requirements are met prior to expending Title IV Part A funds for programs and activities. The Title IV Part A Program Guide provides federal and state program requirements, program guidance, and resources to assist districts utilizing Title IV Part A funds for programs and activities. A few recent updates to the program guide include federal internet safety requirements, federal non-smoking policy for children's services guidance, statewide use of funds data, and unallowable activities guidance. This resource provides guidance and tools to enhance Title IV Part A program knowledge to both new and veteran district staff. This slide shows you an example of the table of contents and how the document is designed. The program guide contains basic program information as well as direct links to related information and resources available on the Texas Education Agency website. This resource provides general program information and should not be perceived as an all-inclusive listing of all statutory requirements. This is an example of the latest Title IV Part A Frequently Asked Question document. It is located on TEA's webpage. The red type in the FAQ indicates the newest Q&A added to the document. Technical assistance and support. If the LEA is searching for answers to Title IV Part A questions, there are lots of ways in which the LEA may receive additional guidance and information on the requirements and examples of what would qualify under a content area. The LEA may view the federal program compliance document, the Title IV Part A webpage, the webinar, the program guide, the frequently asked questions document. There's the use of funds criteria that I described earlier. The LEA can also refer to more details in the ESA Consolidated Plan application program guidelines and the program-specific ESA provisions and assurances. I have also included a link to the CCNA toolkit on this slide. The Title IV Part A required stakeholders and comprehensive needs assessment requirements, resources, and district templates are located in the CCNA toolkit. LEAs may also receive additional information by viewing TEA's Title IV Part A webpage. On the webpage, the LEA will be able to look at our frequently asked questions and several of the other documents that are currently posted. In addition to TEA documents, we have also posted USDE resources and tools. The Education Service Center receives an ESA Basic Services Initiative grant from TEA. It is specifically designed for ESC staff to provide additional training and support to LEAs in the following areas. The three content areas: comprehensive needs assessment and private school equitable services. In addition, it provides technical assistance and support in these areas that you see listed. Some of them include the ESA Consolidated Grant Application, the Consolidated Compliance Reports, random validations, use of funds, as well as distributing Title IV Part A information. LEAs may also access the Title IV Part A Capacity Building Initiative website. Here they will find resources to keep the school safe and supported. It focuses on school safety, and the goal of the website is to provide guidance and resources to schools, education service centers, and parents about the Title IV Part A programs and the state required school safety and mental health requirements, as well as provide other resources on these topics. You may contact the Title IV Part A capacity building staff that are listed on this slide. On the Capacity Building Initiative website, LEAs may find the state requirements in their state FAQ document. If there are state requirements and/or mandates, Title IV funds may not be used to support the activity or program. It is the best site to check for state requirements. If there are questions regarding state requirements that are related to Title IV Part A content areas and activities, contact the Capacity Building Initiative staff. The latest Ed Title IV Part A non-regulatory guidance is posted on TEA's webpage. This guidance provides FAQs by topic area. LEAs may find more specific allowable activities per content area in this USDE document. Here are a few USDE resources that are beneficial to any LEA working with the Title IV Part A programs. Again, the Title IV Part A School Safety Initiative Capacity Building Initiative Grant through ESC 14 provides free training opportunities, information on state mandates and initiatives, and Title IV Part A program-related materials as well. The next Texas School Safety Conference that will be held is June 19th through 23rd in San Antonio, Texas. Districts may use their Title IV Part A funds to send staff to attend the School Safety Conference. TEA contact information is as follows. You may contact the Federal Program Compliance Division if you have additional questions. The contact person is Lenitra Guess. You may contact her through email or phone. Thank you for attending this session. There were many Title IV Part A resources and tools shared today. In addition, you have copies of some application and compliance draft documents. Do not forget that you also have access to the local Education Service Center staff. Thank you for attending and have a wonderful day.